Welcome to race 3 of season 12 of the All Assists Off League, and we are in Spa in Belgium in a wet and windy race for you this afternoon. We've got 18 minutes of a qualifying session followed by a 50% lapped race. Joining me to bring you all of the action, a big welcome back to Skin, a bloke that has crashed off more times than we care to remember in this track whilst we've been taking part in it. So Skin, welcome back.
Hiya mate, you alright?
I am great, thank you. Good to have you alongside me as we are on board with Peter Caspi, of course, in the Ferrari. We are back with the latest update that Formula One, the game, has to offer for us, and that means everyone can race for the teams that they've been acquired to into this season, and we don't have to worry about who's racing for who and making it up as we go along. So it's good to have that sort of information available to us. I think the first absentee that we've got to bring to your attention is that of the defending champion, nay Danger David, who is not present with us for this afternoon's race. Skin, how much of an impact is that going to have on the championships?
I'll log off, mate, shall I? If he's not here, what's the point?
Because taking his place is Herman.
Ooh, Gary Neville's somewhere right now going, ooh, and he don't know why. Big news.
It is. So, of course, Herman has had quite a few successful races, and I'm just going to, before I go any further into all of this, he has been messaging me on the Discord chat, and I feel like it's worth me talking about the statistics that he's managed, because his actual phrase to me is a couple of things in terms of the stats for him in this league, because I mess it up every time. So, just bear in mind some of these statistics. So, he's only had one pole so far, and he's in his 4 races. He's had 3 wins. These are in Portugal, France, and the Mexico main race. Now, the sprint race was won by Sandman, as was the sprint in Mexico. So the France and Mexico sprint was both won by Sandman, and Shane won in the USA. So I will throw out an apology there for Herman, and secretly to the side, I'm hoping he doesn't finish in the top 3, so I don't have to worry about changing those statistics in advance of the next race. But thank you for putting me right on those situations. Yes, so he's taken the seat of his nearest competitor, of course, in Danger David, as we remain on board with Peter Caspi, the first one out on track, the first one to have completed an outlap as he goes up towards one of the fastest corners and most dangerous corners in the Formula One calendar. And in this sort of weather conditions, it makes it much tougher to be able to take that at a good pace, as well as not risking the tyre damage and the potential car damage from crashing off there as well. We've seen loads of fatal crashes in the reality of that corner. We've seen loads of different crashes take place on video games as well. So you've got to be very careful when you're entering into the infamous Eau Rouge, as Peter Caspi took it very nicely on this occasion as he's heading through the middle of Sector 2 at the moment. He will be the potential, the provisional pole sitter, should I say, when he crosses the flagged line, should he not choose to go into the pits or exceed track limits on his way round. Intermediate tyres is the call at the moment by a lot of these drivers. Some are still in the pits at the moment, looking at Toxic, Quan, Trugster, Skid Solo and D. Perez, all waiting for maybe this rain to calm down ever so slightly. So there's loads of different strategies that drivers are going to be going into with this race as he takes the quick little right-left corner. Again, very comfortably. He gets past one of the cars that's had to move to one side just to allow him past. A lot of sportsmanship comes into this aspect of things, isn't it? We look at, obviously, in real life that, you know, drivers have to trust each other, and that's just a natural thing, isn't it? And when we look at it when we're both racing, it's a bit easy. You don't have to worry so much about the braking and that sort of stuff. But with the all assists off, if you're doing this for the first time, it is quite literally there are no assists. I know it sounds silly to say with the all assists off title, but sometimes you think, oh, maybe just a little bit of a brake assist or traction control. That is not the case. And in the rainy circumstances, it changes things significantly. As Peter Caspi crosses the line, and he sets a time of 1:59.4. In the rain, is that a good time to set him in Belgium?
Yeah, I think so. It's the longest track on the F1 calendar when considering distance in miles. 1:59.4 is a very good time, I think, considering that as you were explaining there, no assist being on as well is definitely a good time. It'll actually be quite interesting because we sit here and say, oh, that's a good time, doesn't necessarily mean that it is actually a good time. You know, in the next sort of 12 to 15 minutes or so, 12 minutes, as we just tick under the 13-minute mark in qualifying. That could be very, very low and absolutely blow us away, as Toby Lenzen for McLaren has just got a 1:56.8. So, yeah, I dread to think how much of a time we'd deliver on this, but that would only be if we were allowed to sit on, because not a chance we'd be doing it, A, without assists, and B, with the added obstacle that is the rain on fast corners like Eau Rouge, which Evil 32 just phenomenally took. It was almost as if he was on a roller coaster then and he was tied to a track. Absolutely no wiggle room, nothing going wrong as he heads into Sector 2. Fantastic start there from Evil 32, who in recent weeks and recent races has been one of the standout drivers. I think he's one of the names that we've mentioned quite a lot recently, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Just as we mentioned, that Veriduco retires from the session on a 2 minutes exact with 2 tenths of a second after. Suibo then it's 2 minutes 7. So the Haas currently sat in 4th and 5th place, awaiting other drivers to take a time. But yeah, Ivor, RS012, 2 drivers that I think have gone under the radar since we started covering this, due to the likes of Johnsy, Sandman, Danger David, and of course Herman now as well. But you know, they're starting to pick up that pace and they're starting to fight amongst the front runners on a more regular basis. And RS0121, since moving to Red Bull, has done a phenomenal job. He's obviously got much quicker in the tracks. He's been performing much better in qualifying sessions. As we can start to see now, the rain is disappearing, so some of these drivers that have waited inside the pits might get an excellent opportunity to go out there and set a quicker time, maybe at the disadvantage of some of these drivers that have already been out there setting times at the moment. So when you look at, like you say, with Evo and RS0121, yeah, they've really gone under the radar, but they've really picked it up, and I think they are drivers that you really need to watch out for, especially in a track like Spa, because, you know, Evo took that corner superbly well, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and then he's pitted at the end, so I just sat and watched his whole lap for nothing.
I think it's just a case of, you know, he's gone in under those tyres, as 1:54.8 is set by Herman to take provisional pole away from Pleasant Snake in the Alpha Tauri this afternoon. So we are on board with RS0121, as we've just mentioned. He's been performing very well this season. Got driver of the day a couple of weeks ago after the race win in the United States of whatever. As 1 minute 36 is his time heading through Sector 3 at the moment. I think you can look at these times and see that they are massively improving due to, so he's spun going into the final corner, which means he'll probably head into the pits now and change those tyres. Maybe wait a couple of minutes, because if this rain has cleared up, which it looks like it has, and we see some of the cars still out there at the moment on track, we might be looking at some maybe slicker tyres, maybe the soft tyres coming out very, very soon, and these times being beaten by quite a high amount. But at the moment it is the Mercedes of Herman that is sat on the front row. His teammate D. Perez for this afternoon sat down in 17th place. Now, we speak a lot about Herman and his performances in this league. He's been with plenty of different teams, and he's now with the Mercedes, of course, replacing the guy that he's competing for the championship with. Do you think these results that he's been getting are a clear statement as to why he should be with a team on a permanent basis? It's a missed opportunity for this league to not give him a team permanently, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you can understand why. You've got a lot of drivers who have been in this league since we first started commentating on it a few months back, so it would be harsh for someone to come along and after a good couple of performances say, right, driver X, we're kicking you out. It's obviously not real life, so it would be harsh to move someone out. So yeah, we are at the point where Herman is a reserve driver, but no doubt if and when someone were to drop out of this league, he's surely going to have first refusal on getting that permanent seat. But yeah, I could understand why, because it would be very unfair for him to just come in and someone get kicked out, because these drivers now, as I mentioned, it's a lot of consistent names. It's a lot of the same names that have been here for the months that we've been commentating on, and for many months before that, before we started commentating on this league is into its 12th season or something like that. It's been going on for a long time now, so yeah, it'd be very harsh to just kick someone out. Truckster, provisional pole, 2 tenths quicker, or sorry, just over a tenth quicker than Herman in the Mercedes. So as it stands, with just under 8 minutes left, Truckster has got pole, and his teammate Pleasant Snake is in third. So a fantastic start for the AlphaTauris as it stands.
It was an excellent lap as well from Truckstyle. I'll give credit where credit's due there, because he absolutely nailed a lot of those corners. When you see the rain disappearing, you're still in those intermediate tyres, it's so easy for drivers to ease up and, you know, take things steady going through these, because if you crash, you're out in qualifying, you know, it's game over. It could really result in a number of different things for yourself, especially when you've not already set a time. I know it's not so big of a deal now he's already in first place, because it's a very strong time to have set, but he's thrown caution into the window, and a lot of those corners he's taken quite risky, so he deserves that pole position. And Pleasant Snake, his teammate, has taken it away from him with 1.5 seconds
what
the difference.
What a time that is.
151.8. I've got Toxic I'm on board with at the moment. He's just gone purple in sector 2 as it stands, so see if he can beat that time as he's going round on the intermediate tyres as well. As you look on the left of the screen of the stream,
Herman, last corner, mate, sorry to interrupt you, but Herman's just taken the last corner, trying to get that provisional pole back. Currently sat in third and gets a 50.9. Almost a second quicker.
Hang on, Toxic. I think he just lost a bit of tyre spin as he goes round the final corner, and he's just missed out on it. He's just missed out after a little bit of tyre spin as he goes on to the final straight. And that's what's cost him. That's the difference in this at the moment. 6.5 seconds. This could all be put on its head by some of these drivers now. Evo, Formula 1 Farah, Kwan, all coming out on soft tyres.
Yeah, I was just about to say the rain's clearing up, isn't it? So drivers like Herman...
DRS has been enabled.
Here we go. Herman, yeah, they've all got time, haven't they, to get in. So,
Serebo disqualified. Ouch.
Not going to be able to improve, and to be honest, looking at that 27.9, he's got 2, 4, 6, 8 drivers currently behind him.
He's starting last, isn't he? He's been disqualified.
Yeah, they're all going to beat that time anyway. So, just on board with Quincy. Surely.
Oh, RSO121 into the wall. He's took a bit of a spin as he's come round that corner there into sector 2, and he's took a spin. He's not out, but he's lost his front wing entirely. He's going to have to get back to the pits very quickly to be able to set a time at all in this. Otherwise, he's going to be starting 17th place, but he went straight into the wall. I think it's because it went side on that he's managed to survive ever so slightly. I know how this game works sometimes. If your wheel catches first, your entire car just implodes on itself, but he's managed to catch this at just the right angle that he's lost him his front wing. He's back on track. He's going through now. Obviously, he's going to move out from a couple of these drivers' ways as they're making their way forward, but those intermediate tyres have cost him dearly at the moment. Sorry to interrupt, carry on.
No, you're absolutely fine, mate. It's going to be touched out on the time now with 5 minutes left in qualifying. 5 minutes to go in this short qualifying session before we hit the 50% race in Belgium, and we talk about
Evo's boxed.
Evo's boxed. Got time, it's fine, he's got time, but probably only time for one hot lap.
I'm going to say this, I'm not sure what tyres to go for. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you again. I'll let you carry on in a moment. Formula 1 Farah is now spun on soft tyres. What do you do?
Well, I'm just on board with Quincy, who is on soft tyres and is going alright. Great car control so far, and you've got to think now at this point, you cannot go out on wets, or intermediates more specifically. The track is pretty much dry. Truckster just set a 50.7, a 2/10 lead over Herman, getting back that provisional pole. Quincy currently going nearly 5 seconds quicker than his previous timed lap. So yeah, you've got to be out. If it's a lap and a half of spins and car wobbles, you've got to take it, because going into this last 3-4 minutes now, it's going to be worth it. You don't want to be out on track now on the intermediates. You've got to take that risk. But just with Quincy going into the penultimate corner, the final corner, should in theory take provisional pole here, being on the soft tyres, and he does with a 50.1, 6/10 quicker than Truckster in second. This is the shootout. Quincy with that pole lap on board the whole way through. That is now the new time to beat. 50.1. Just back on board now with Turbulenzen. Had pole very, very, very early on in the qualifying session. I think he was the second person to complete a timed lap. Currently sitting in 8th place, fastest lap being a 56.8, just come off the back of Eau Rouge onto that long straight heading into sector 2, and is going 1.7 seconds quicker than his previous fastest lap, or previous fastest sector 1 should I say, which around about 2 seconds 54 is nowhere near quick enough to get him near that front row. We'll have to have a smashing sector 2 and 3, but with the improved conditions, with the dry tyres, no doubt he will do that, and I wonder how much time he can find now in this last sector and a half. just halfway through sector 2, and yeah, what I was going to say before you interrupted me for the 7th time in about 4 minutes was that we speak every single race about the chaos that happens during the actual race itself. Last time out, 2 weeks ago, it seemed relatively quiet, and then I jinxed it by saying it would have been relatively quiet, and we had multiple safety cars in the last few laps, and it was just everything was kicking off. So qualifying now, having intermediate tyres and wet weather and rain for the vast majority of it, and then you get into the final 5 or 6 minutes and the track completely dries up and the rain stops, you're just asking for a shootout at that point, as Tobelenzen, again, previous provisional pole holder early in the qualifying session, takes the last corner and goes into pole position again with a massive 47.7. Skid solo second, 48.0. What's that from Tobelenzen there? Adam, who's next on the timed lap track? We've got 90 seconds left, or just over. 47.7 is the time to beat.
Yeah, I'm jumping on board with a number of different drivers here. Quincy, DDB890 has just gone second on a 147.730, and I think he started to slow down on that pit straight a little bit, which might have cost him ever so slightly. D. Perez, it's a 147.1, takes pole position provisionally for the Mercedes, but that's 1 minute 18 left. Now, I was on board with Quincy after he'd finished that lap that put him onto pole position, and he continued to go in quite a quick fashion. He was setting purple sector 1. But it looked like he'd lost a little bit of fuel towards the back end of that lap, but the momentum seemed to have carried forward for him as well. So he's just missed out on that, and he's gone into the pits. I think now it's a missed opportunity for anybody that is in the pits. I think it's only Quincy that actually is, so he's missed out on that opportunity. We will jump on board with Ivor, one of the 3 drivers that are out there at the moment that haven't set a time lap as Peter Caspi. It's a 146.074. I think we are going to see an influx of quicker times making their way through at the moment, so we haven't seen the quickest time set yet. See if Peter Caspi can hold on to that position or even set a faster lap. He's got his final opportunity. I think there's a number of drivers that are out there at the moment that are using this as like a one-shot qualifying session. I'm with the Aston Martin at the moment of Ivor 32. After this, we will jump on board with RS0121. He comes round onto what is a relatively long straight, having set purple in sector 2. 1 minute 15 is what he set in sector 2. When I was on board with, I believe it was Skid Solo, his was 119, so we'll see just how far up the leaderboard that will take Ivor. His T-Bran, it's a 145.1, 8 tenths quicker than Tobelenzen in the McLaren, who's in second place on 145.9. Here we go, final couple of corners now for Ivor. He's on 138 as it stands. He's got 145.1 to beat. Time has expired, and he hits a 144.027. Excellent work from Ivor in the Aston Martin to take provisional pole. So we'll jump back a little bit further on board with RS0121. Now has a 144.027 to beat to get ahead of Aston Martin. He's got to try and get even further ahead of Quincy on a 150.1 if he can do so, as D. Perez takes that fastest lap back away again with 144.019. Very close between the two drivers, currently sat on the front row of the grid. I will tell you, through sector 2, RS0121 got a purple sector as he goes through sector 3 now. He reaches the final DRS detection zone. A quick right left on the way before the pit straight. A lot of drivers have taken this very smoothly today. 135 is what he's on at the moment. It hits it round onto the left corner, catches the chicane ever so slightly, keeps composure of the car. 144.0 the time to beat. 142.7 set by the driver that won the last race that we covered on a 142.7. RS0121 takes provisional pole. We'll jump back on board with Formula 1 Farah, the final driver yet to set a time, as Herman goes 142.0. We thought the time that RS0121 set was phenomenal. Herman's beaten that by 7 tenths. So Skin, I'll come to you in just a moment as we stay on board with Formula 1 Far at the moment. 142 is the time to beat. He's got 9 seconds to take this last couple of corners. If he can get himself round there, slides ever so slightly into the final straight. 142.0 he gets. 143, but his time has been null and voided, which means he will start in 16th place, just ahead of Kwan, who left the qualifying session before the timer expired. But it is Herman once again back on pole position, and this is his second pole position that he will get heading into a race. I can tell you that from the statistics that he sent me earlier. So it is Herman for RS0121 for Toxic CZ10. Skin, that was an entertaining end to what has been quite an exciting qualifying session.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I was on board there with Herman in sort of the second half of that lap, and yeah, absolutely smashed it. 7 tenths quicker. It doesn't get much better than that for a qualifying session on a pole lap, does it?
Absolutely not, no. A guy that set a 151 in his first lap sets a 142 in his second. So the strategy that these drivers have taken into account heading into this qualifying session itself, of course, we saw the rain and then that's decided to dry up. It's really when is the right time to bring these soft tyres out. We saw a couple of incidents. RS was one of those that was out there on intermediate tyres that caught the front wing and ended up pitting again. Maybe that could have been the difference maker for him. It turns out it wasn't. He still got into second place anyway. But it's all about the start now, isn't it? Toxic will be happy that he's that high. Of course, D. Perez will be happy that he's managed to be close towards his teammate. Quick start from him could really put him just behind Herman and open up for a potential Mercedes 1-2. So we do have Red Bull in second place, your beloved Red Bull, should I say, in second place. Just to put it into perspective, with about 2.5 minutes left of the qualifying session, bearing in mind any drivers that started before that time expired could finish their lap. Quincy set a 150.115 that we thought was an exceptional time in comparison to what had been set so far. That put him on pole position. We've since had 11 other drivers take that pole position away from him before we got to the end of that qualifying session. Crazy final 2.5 minutes in Belgium. We expect the race to be something very, very similar, but there is no rain. We don't have to worry about that. There is no formation lap. We don't have to worry about the chaos that Formula 1 2023 can bring us. So, Skin, who's your thoughts and who's your expectations to finish on the top step of the podium come the end of this race?
Herman, that's it.
That's it. You barely even allowed me to have a little bit of drink of water.
Sorry, mate. No Sandman, no Danger David. I know there's been one or two drivers that have been in and amongst it in recent races, but I think with the form that Herman's been in, the fact that he's got pole position, perfect start, it's all about these first couple of laps. And again, it's just a strategy. What chaos will be thrown up in Belgium today? We say it every single time. I think I've said it maybe now for the last 4 races that we've covered. We've seen it all in the All Assist Off League, and then something comes along that we haven't seen before. So, will it be the same again? Shall I say that touch wood, we've seen it all? I genuinely, I can sit here for the whole race trying to think of something that we haven't seen before that could potentially happen, but I'll not think of anything. So, no doubt, something new and exciting will be presented to us in the next, 45 minutes or so. So, yeah, should be quite the interesting race. So, what about you? No Starman, no Danger David. Is Herman the front runner for this, or have you got someone else that could potentially spring a surprise in Belgium?
I think it goes without saying that Herman's going to be the front runner in this. The time that he set is exceptional, but how many times have we seen drivers set great times in qualifying and the pace of other cars be too much? So I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to go with RS0121 to win this. The lights are out. And here we go. We are racing. Yellow flag to kick things off, but it is Herman that holds on to the lead, heading into what is a very short turn 1. However, RS0121's gone quickly onto the outside. Herman had to cut short, but he still kept the lead for now. Toxic in 3rd place as Ivor and Skid Solo make the 2 Aston Martins in 4th and 5th place. But at the moment, heading into turn 2, we do still have, going into Eau Rouge, or up towards Eau Rouge, should I say now, we do still have Herman out in 3rd place. RS0121 in 2nd place. We'll jump across to you now then, because this is where chaos really comes about. And I think the safety car's going to come out in a moment as RS0121 goes up onto the outside, keeps the outside line ahead of Herman. Now onto the inside, RS0121's your new race leader. What is going on with you? We've got a new race leader, we've got a safety car, and we've got 5-second time penalties coming in abundance, and we've got Tobalenzen out of the race. So, Skin, I'll let you take us through just what's happened in lap 1.
All I can say, mate, is to quote the great Joe Rogan. I don't even know what happened, mate. I've lost track of names. One crash happened. Hang on, let me look at me leaderboard here. Tobalenzen went flying off, and then someone else spun, and then someone else crashed into them. I lost track of all names. We need it like FIFA when you're online. It's got the names of the players above the drivers, because I can't keep track of what's happening on the track and keep a look on their leaderboard as well. So, like I said, I'll just stick with Joe Rogan. Oh! And it'll all be there on the replay for anyone that wants to watch. But there's been contact, there's been chaos, and before we've even got halfway around lap 1, we've got a safety car. Where else but in the All Assist Off League?
We also have a new race leader. I was trying to go through it whilst you were screaming, you were shouting down your headset at that point. But it was a great overtake from RS012, and I'm not sure how controversial it may be. There were yellow flags out due to the incident. It wasn't quite at the safety car stage at that point. So I will jump on board with RS0121. It was excellently executed. Out onto the outside, coming into turn 4, I think it was. Go up onto the inside that's shown Herman the outside line. A well taken and well timed overtake for RS0121 puts him at the front of the pack. I said that it's going to be all about him carrying that momentum forward from the last race win, as he slows down now, as he goes just behind the safety car into the next couple of corners. I don't know if it was on Eau Rouge. I'll give you a couple of names now though, Skim, because it's been mentioned on the Discord. Veriduco or Sir Ibo. It was potentially one of those two, and they are both the Haas drivers. So I'll let you figure out what you want to figure out from just what happened between them. We've had two Ferraris and a Williams head into the pits now. Formula 1 Farah, DDB890 and Peter Caspi have all headed into the pits. Maybe a strategic decision to go on a longevity type of tyre. 20 laps, of course, left in this race. You said yourself this is one of the longer races in terms of track distance. So we do have fewer laps to cover in a 50% race. But RS0121 is your current race leader. Herman's in second, Evor32 in third, Toxic CZ10 in fourth, Pleasant Snake and Truckster making the Alpha Tauris in fifth and sixth place. You've got T Perez in seventh place, Quincy in eighth, T-Bran in ninth, Racing Wheel 10th, the Kwan win the Williams up 11th place, Veriduco in 12th, his teammate in the other Haas in 14th, both of those two separated by Skid Solo in the other Aston Martin, down in 13th place with a 5-second time penalty, which of course cannot be served during the safety car. And then of course Formula 1 Farah, DDB890 and Peter Caspi all having pitted. And I'm just going to check the tyre type that they have at the moment. They've all gone on to a longer lasting kind of tyre. DDB890 has gone onto the hard tyre, which is an interesting approach with 20 odd laps left to go. You think that the tyres can be saved a little bit because of the safety car and everybody being at the reduced pace, but it also loses a lot of heat in the tyres, doesn't it?
It does, mate, yeah. We've already established by now that this early in a race, drivers aren't going to change their strategy in terms of pitting early. We very quickly realised that maybe we're in the minority for lapping on lap one, just to get the pit stop out of the way. So yeah, it's just a case of keeping them warm. Especially, I don't know what the difference in effect is with it being like no assists and all that kind of stuff. You know, is it a bit more manual in terms of keeping the tyres warm? I'm not sure, but yeah, I've just been on board with Toxic throughout this safety car. Safety car does remain out, so we're going to get at least one more lap of just everyone following each other, and of course, like you said, keeping those tyres warm, and then hopefully we can get back to the racing. But yeah, early chaos, early incidents and early things to talk about. I do wonder though, weather in Belgium does look dry for the race despite the rainy weather in the first half of qualifying earlier on this evening. Also doesn't look too warm, quite cloudy and overcast. I'm going to guess that we're not at risk of any drivers thrown up in the helmet like Esteban Ocon in Qatar this past weekend. I think unless any of the drivers get motion sickness by using the wheel, I think we'll be okay on that side of it, won't we?
Yeah, absolute madness, of course, what went on in Qatar. So we'll obviously see more in the news of what happens moving forward with that. But I think the logical thing is to either not race in Qatar again or make it a night race where maybe the temperatures are cooler and it makes it a bit more of a possibility for these drivers. Because we spoke about, well, you know, when football was taking place in there, the World Cup, that kind of thing, and you know, the temperatures for footballers in an hour and a half and having to stop for water breaks and that kind of thing, and that's understandable. But it's a bit different in a Formula 1 car, isn't it, for an hour and a half in all the, you know, the extra clothing. We saw George Russell's interview. If you've not seen it, I honestly think you should listen to it. He talks about in all the clothing and the extra gear that they have to wear with the heat of the cars as well as everything else and the speeds, of course, in which you're going. There's no air, and it makes it very difficult. But we don't have to worry about that too much. We are in Belgium. We've had rain during qualifying. We could have rain during the race. Who knows? But as it stands at the moment, we are in lap 3 where there's no rain. There's a new race leader, and it's been a great start for the two Alpha Tauris up into 5th place and 6th respectively, making the two biggest climbs of the afternoon so far. Still plenty of racing left to go, and expect all chaos to kick up when drivers do start going in for their pit stops, which at the moment I'll just chuck a little bit extra on there as well. At the moment, the tyre looks like it's working in favour of everybody except for Pleasant Snake. So we'll eliminate the looks of the tyres as we are heading into the final few corners of lap number 3. And we have heard from race control that the safety car will in fact be in this lap. We have lost the only McLaren racing in today's drive, so why am I still sat here? That is Tobbe Lenzen, who of course went out on lap 1. What happened? Not even the guy that was watching it knows what happened in that race, so in that part of the race. So hopefully you'll be able to watch it back on the stream and see the chaos unfold, almost as if it's live. We are on board with RS0121. We'll drop back onto maybe Evo, because sometimes that can give you the best view of the front 2 racing. RS0121 is going to be the pace setter heading into the first pit straight. And it's a short pit straight, which takes him straight through into turn number 1. As he takes a bit of a backspin of the back of his car, he sets things off. Then we are back racing onto lap 4 of 22 here in Spa, in Belgium. Up into turn 1, RS0121 then keeps position of Herman in second place, and then Ivor just behind. Continuing further forward into Eau Rouge. He's doing it very comfortably as well, isn't he? He's not... I know normally we say Herman's quite far ahead by this point, but RS0121's been keeping him at bay, as now it looks like Herman's gone onto the outside. He's going to try and have a look to get past him here. The pace might just be a little bit too much. Keeps the outside line. Going into the next corner, it might just work in RS0121's favour if he could stay alongside Herman, but he didn't. Herman kept the position and takes first place away from him. So in 2 laps of racing, we've seen 2 leader changes, and it is the Mercedes that is back out in the front at the moment. We've got the Aston Martin of Evo 32 down in 3rd place as it stands at the moment, under not too much pressure from Toxic just behind him, as we stay on board with RS0121, who is in danger of falling to the 3rd step of the podium if he isn't to pick up the pace ever so slightly. We do have a yellow flag back out in sector 2. We'll see if Skin can find out what's going on there, but it does look like it's the Haas of Sir Ibo that is running a little bit slowly. That yellow flag's now gone, so it might just have been a slight spin for him as RS0121 holds on to second place. He's still battling with Ivor at the moment. No, DRS, of course, has not been enabled just yet. We'll drop back ever so slightly to look at a couple of other cars that are competing with each other. We'll try and get the interval up to make this a little bit easier to look at as well. We'll go towards D. Perez, who at the moment is attacking Truckster, whilst defending from T-Bran, heading through Sector 3. We're about to finish the first lap of the restart here in Belgium, with Herman 26 still out in front. His teammate down in 7th place at the moment. With a lot of work to do if they're to carry things going. He goes up on the inside, has a look at the potential of getting past Truckster, goes up onto the outside this time round, and he might just have the position away from him, and he might be able to split the 2 Alpha Tauri. Going to the end of the pit straight. If he takes the inside line, he's going to follow him through that corner, and D. Perez is forced to remain in 7th place as Pleasant Snake gets his position. And now we've got a collision. It looked like a collision between between D. Perez and T. Bran, but I think it's allowed ghosting to happen, and T. Bran's got through him. That looked very close, like the 2 cars have collided there, but T. Bran's ended up in 7th place, and D. Perez falls to 8th, so I'm not quite sure just what happened. Skin, what happened with your screaming?
It just looked like there might have been a bit of contact, a bit of a spin, but all is well. Quincy, fantastic overtake on D. Perez there, just at the end of that long straight in Sector 1. Kind of edged right like he was going to go right, and then moved left to get him around the outside, going into that right-left turn. Fantastic driving from Quincy there. So yeah, nothing really to report. I was just... adrenaline was still pumping from last time, so I got a bit excited there, so apologies to you and anyone watching or anyone that goes back to watch, whoever you are in the future. Hello, how are you? And welcome to lap 5 of All Assist Off League race in Belgium, as we have a yellow flag again in sector 2, but again, very much like just a second ago, it comes and goes very quickly. So yeah, Herman takes the lead, 2 seconds. He's got a gas, and that's very quick to get a 2-second lead. It was only, what, a lap and a half ago that he took the lead back over RS0121. So yeah, the sort of top 5 does seem to be opening up now. Got Toxic in 5th place, who I'm currently on board with, 2 tenths behind Pleasant Snake in 4th. The only one really in the top 5 or 6 that seems to have an opportunity at overtaking. But Pleasant Snake, very good driving, comfortable, calm, confident, and maintains that 4th spot with a relatively decent gap. So yeah, not too much happening at the moment in terms of potential overtakes. Adam, lap 6, when's the next safety car coming out?
Lap 7. I'm on board with T-Bran at the moment in the Alfa Romeo as he goes up through Eau Rouge into another corner that we will also name Eau Rouge at Gary Marsden. As we follow him through these corners, he's going to have DRS, he's going to open his wing, gives him the extra 10 miles per hour and moves him up ahead of Truckster into 6th place as he follows his teammate through. And after a fantastic start for the 2 Alfa Tauris, the 2 Alfa Romeos now split them apart in 5th and 6th place respectively, as DRS, we heard during that time while you were going through it, Skin, has been enabled. So let's jump on board with Toxic, who is in DRS of Pleasant Snake at the moment, and Ivor is in 3rd place behind RS0121. So we'll wait and see just what happens as the 2 Haas now of Suribo and Veriduco are kind of like ridiculously far behind. I don't know just what's happened with the Haas there, but they've fallen significantly far behind. It's a shame because we've seen both of those in their respective teams in the past performing quite well, so hopefully we'll see them back towards the rest of the group and racing very, very shortly. The closest gap you've got between any drivers at the moment is down in 11th place with D. Perez in the Mercedes. He's in DRS as well, but he's also defending from DRS where Skid Solo is in 12th place, who's starting to put a bit of pressure on him there as well, heading through these little twists and turns that appear in Belgium. He goes up the inside this time and takes the position away from D. Perez, goes up into 11th place as D. Perez continues his free fall since the restart. He's now down in 12th place. I'm not quite sure just what's happened. He has posted on Discord asking if the race is being restarted. As far as I'm aware, that's not going to happen. That's not set to happen. But something must have happened for him to feel that is needed. And it's left him down in 12th place at the moment as well. His teammate, though, is still out there getting the points for him at the expense of Danger David. So they are still getting some very strong points on the board as he goes on to the pit straight now. Don't believe there is a DRS on the pit straight. I think it's the following corner. As up onto the outside of him goes Racing Wheel 027 as D. Perez falls yet another position on this track. And I don't think he's going to have DRS either. I think the DRS is going to remain with Racing Wheel. Had it at the point. And he's fallen down to 14th now as Peter Caspi makes his way past as well. So I'm not quite sure what's going on in the Mercedes of D. Perez at the moment. Let's jump on board with Truckster up in 7th place in the Alfa Tauri, closing in on the Alfa Romeo that T-Bran is in at the moment in 6th place, 5/10 behind him, half a second, spins ever so slightly. I'm not sure if these are my lags or whether it's the case of, in general, these cars are starting to spin ever so slightly because they don't seem to be losing any time despite these little spins. Are you getting it as well, Skin?
No, mate, I'm absolutely fine. Restart your router next week.
Yep, that must be what it is. Just to confirm, D. Perez's game failed, which might explain why he's down in 14th place at the moment. So, in other words, he's just had a message from Christian Horner saying they've got a power unit failure, and at the moment they're down in 14th place. He's at the Mercedes, ignore me, it's Toto Wolff that's told him that, not Christian Horner, that would have been last year. Research, once again, hashtag Journo. Truckster in 7th place at the moment, then making his way through with T-Bran, seeing if he can get the DRS to work in his favour, if he can try and close the gap on one of the teams that they've been competing with over the last couple of years. The other is the Aston Martin, one of which is in 3rd place. Onto the pit straight now, opens up DRS just behind RS0121. I don't think this straight's going to be quite long enough for him. And I think it is going to be RS0121 that remains in 2nd place. He goes slow into that corner, actually. On the out of that corner, Evo does seem to have slowed down. That's not my router, because now he's also lost DRS on RS0121 and opened the door for Pleasant Snake to maybe have a look at getting himself onto the podium. So this could be very interesting on lap 8. I only think we've got a couple of laps left before we get to the point of pit stops being required.
Truckster just overtaken T-Bran to move up into 6th place. Just flicking up and down the track at the moment. Not too many drivers within an overtaking opportunity. Just got on board there with Truckster as he overtook there. So now up into 6th. Toxic going very well in 5th place. Got a little bit under the radar at the moment. Driving a nice race. Comfortable gap between him and Truckster. Not really in a position to be pushing for 4th at the moment. But yeah, Truckster, I think, Toxic as it stands, could be one of those drivers that we're discussing towards the end of the race as someone that's had a very positive race in Belgium. But yeah, Herman now 3.6 seconds clear. Really increasing that gap now as we start to approach the pit windows. Got to be very happy. At this point, it's just about no mistakes, no time penalties or anything like that, nothing silly. And should win regardless of how long we've got left. But we've gone past lap 7, Adam, which was your prediction for the next safety car. We are now towards the back end of we're just into lap 8 now, about to go into lap 9. So you were wrong on that one, mate, but we shall see. Surely, with all these laps left, we're yet to have seen the final amount of chaos, drama, whatever you want to call it, throughout the rest of this race. Just on board with Pleasant Snake in 4th. Does seem to be relatively comfortable in and amongst the top sort of 5 or 6 at the moment. No one really pushing. Evil 2/10 or just over 2/10 behind RS0121, so could make a move now in DRS. And has done, yeah. Takes second place. Fantastic driving. Calm. Didn't get complacent. Was very, very patient. Has been sat in 3rd place now for a number of laps and just waited for that opportunity. Long straight, DRS, perfect timing. Great driving from Evil 32. 4 seconds behind Herman. So is it a case now of really pushing on to try and get that first spot, or is it about defending second place and taking home a good amount of points? What would you do in that situation, considering how dominant that Herman has been in his short time in the All Assist Soft League?
I think on these medium tyres you need to push. You need to not only try and get as close to Herman as you can, but also try and get as far away from RS as you can, because at that point you can then look at pitting, you can look at maybe an undercut. It might not get you ahead of Herman at this point, 4.5 seconds behind, but it could really help close that gap. You've also not got the dirty air ahead of you anymore, which means now you can focus on getting that pace going. The only thing you've got to be careful of is you also don't get the DRS assistance that the drivers behind you do get. So there's a lot to take into consideration. My personal opinion is you've just got to push. You've got to use as much as you can to get ahead of RS0121, because at the moment it's been a tough battle between the two of them, and Pleasant Snake isn't out of it just yet. There's a couple of cars behind him as well that might also be having a look at an opportunity to get themselves onto the podium should a safety car come about. It's all about the strategy now. It's all about making sure that you're pitting at the right time. You're not losing any time there. There's no penalties, like you said, nothing silly at that point. But as it stands at the moment, he's got a defending job to do of RS0121, who's got DRS but doesn't quite get enough speed to get past him in the first corner. But in the second corner, it has welcomed a nice little challenge from Pleasant Snake, who's going to be more than appreciative of this opportunity, heading on to Eau Rouge. All drivers taking that very smoothly, and I don't think I've ever taken that without either hitting a curb or hitting a wall. So they've done very well, all three of them have, once again. Following through into the next corner, opening up into the end of Sector 1, we are still on board with Evo, who is defending valiantly. 0.1 behind him is RS0121. That DRS could be a game changer when he gets it heading in towards the pit straight. Only one DRS zone, I think, in this... 2 DRS zones, isn't it, in Belgium, both at the beginning of the track, we'll say, because one's on the stop-start line, of course, the pit straight. The other is the preceding corner that follows it. So a lot of pace needs to be kept throughout these corners, as I think just a little bit wide goes RS, but he doesn't seem to have lost any track grip, or tyre grip, should I say, through that. Following through Sector 2 now, a couple of corners for him to follow Ivor through. Seems quite confident that he's just going to bide his time and he'll maybe get an opportunity to get past the Aston Martin, but he's also got to be careful because of how Pleasant Snake is behind. Those 3 drivers have now taken a bit of a lead ahead of Toxic, as we do have a yellow flag out, and into the pits goes Kwan as Skid Solo gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That flag has now gone, and we stay on board with RS0121, who is closing that gap comfortably on Ivor. He's going to try and go up the inside, but has to heel just before going into the final 2 corners onto the pit straight. He is going to have DRS if this can help him. It's a short pit straight, of course, remember, so he might not be able to get enough track. Might run out of track before he gets there. I think he's comfortably going to see that he is going to be out of track before he gets there, but there is another DRS around the corner if he can stay within that second distance. He's doing it quite nicely at the moment. Toxic seems to have fallen a little bit behind as well, with T-Brand there behind him. Pleasant Snake, of course, pitting down into 8th place, so it is just a 2-horse race for second place at the moment, and DRS is opened onto a bit of a longer straight for him now. Stays onto the left-hand side. Going to have the outside line going into the corner. He's going to have the position before they get to the corner. And RS0121, very well taken, very well timed overtake. Takes second place back from Ivor in the Aston Martin as T-Brand gets past his teammate of Toxic a little bit further behind in the 2 Alfa Romeos. We'll drop a bit further down for Trugster, who is closing that gap on one of the Alfa Romeos, which is Toxic CZ10, nearly collides into the back of him, but keeps a fair distance going round through Sector 2. It makes it very difficult for these overtakes. You only get 2 quicker chances of an overtake, don't you, because of the DRS?
Yeah, absolutely. RS0121, like you said, regaining second place from Evil 32 in the exact same place but Evo 32 took that second place first time round. So yeah, that does seem to be the main overtaking point. We will, of course, now we approach the second half of the race, and especially once we get to that last sort of 3 or 4 laps, if drivers are a certain amount of time behind the driver in front, you will see more attempts, you will see more aggressive overtaking opportunities. But yeah, definitely that long straight coming out of Eau Rouge, or the long DRS stretch is the most sensible thing. So yeah, you're seeing at the moment, especially in that battle for second place, just be patient, bide your time, stay within that second behind, don't make any mistakes. As someone there, I didn't quite catch who, might have been, I think it was T-Bram went off track there, which has allowed Toxic to move up into third place with Evo now pitting. Not sure what went wrong there, maybe just a bit of a bit late on the brakes for T-Bram, which led to going very wide and opened the door for Toxic to move up into third. But yeah, just be patient, stay within that second, obviously, so you got DRS, take your opportunity, and both times we've seen it, between RS and Evo, they've got to that corner very comfortable, not have to worry about who's had the inside line and the potential to be overtaken again. So yeah, so great driving from both of them. Herman now 7.6 seconds ahead. We could potentially, if we again avoid all incidents and any further safety cars, we could be looking at one of the most comfortable race wins in our time as commentators on this league. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I'm on board with Formula 1 Faro at the moment, and I just want to put on your radar what's gone off with him. On lap 2, he pitted in the safety car. He did come out on medium tyres, gave a couple of laps where he could actually rest those tyres, take it steady. So he might have a couple of laps extra than what people are expecting, but if he can see this through to the end of the race, he's in a very good position. So he just needs to look after them tyres at the moment. He's now ahead of Pleasant Snake. He's ahead of Evor. Pleasant Snake's pit early has actually worked out in his favour because he's gained position on Evor as well. So he would now be up into what I believe is second place, ahead of RS0121. Formula 1 Farah, as it stands, would also go ahead of RS. He would be, providing the pit stop goes off without any sort of hitches. Herman. 3 seconds would be the lead for him ahead of Formula 1 Farah if this pit stop goes off without any issues whatsoever. So here we are. Herman goes into the pits. We'll see just where he comes out. RS becomes the new race leader. Toxic will get past him as well. T-Bran goes into the pits himself. Quincy following through also gets ahead of T-Bran. Will he get ahead of Herman as well? He should do. And I think he is going to. And I think Herman's going to actually come out just behind. I think that's just behind Quincy actually, but it's put him out as in front, so it must be Toxic. I thought he'd actually got out. Yeah, it's Quincy then. It's just behind Herman. I thought Herman actually got out just behind Quincy. So, yeah, Formula 1 Farah has boxed himself as well. So that'll be why he's missed out on that opportunity that was just putting on your radar as well. So I don't know if he was listening and decided to go into the pits, but his decision anyway has allowed him to fall down into 10th place with another opportunity to try and climb up this track. As it stands, it is RS0121 out in the lead, yet to pit. Toxic CZ10, second place, yet to pit. Quincy in fourth is the exact same situation. Herman in third place has pitted and is trailing the lead by just 4 seconds as it stands at the moment. So a huge difference as it is, and he gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So that throws a spanner in the works for a lot of these drivers as we just stay on board with Quincy, who's defending from Pleasant Snake at the moment. Of course, Pleasant Snake has boxed, and I think at the moment would see himself in second place after all pit stops have been taken into account. But all they've got to do is get themselves within 3 seconds of Herman to be in with a chance of winning this race. 9 laps left to go. We stay on board with Quincy because this is actually one of the closer races that we've got. We'll go on board with Truckster if you want, who's just below 2 seconds behind Evo 32, but that is the closest we've got any driver to another driver at the moment. It's 1.9 seconds. So these pit stops have really spread the track apart as RS0121 now goes into the pits. Let's jump on board with Herman, who should comfortably get that position back. He's what?
Absolutely pissed it,
5 second time penalty for Toxic there as well.
Oh, wow, and
that
could have big implications for the podium.
Yeah, from that pit stop, he took second place, but he's lost it now. Pleasant Snake up into second. I just want to see what the interval is there. 7.9 seconds. I think that will probably go a little bit bigger as the lap progresses. But Pleasant Snake is primed to get, if he can get 5 seconds on Herman at the moment, on those new tyres that he's just pitted for as well, then there's no reason to believe that he can take as the race winner by the end of this. RS pitting late has seen him fall down into 5th place. We are now starting to see some of these cars get closer to each other as we jump just in time for RS to have the DRS in DRS Zone 2. Tries to go up the inside, but again runs out of track before he has to stay behind Truckster. But he is going to be right on the tail of the AlphaTauri to try and get past him up into 4th place, and then he's going to have to try and close down on Evo, who they've had a good battle already throughout the course of this race. 1.6 seconds separates Evo from Pleasant Snake, as Ivo now gets a time penalty for multiple warnings, and you'll be surprised to know they are not the last two on the track, despite the fact that they were so far behind everybody else at one point in this race. So fair play to the two Haas drivers for climbing themselves back up and competing to some extent. As it stands, though, it is Herman now just continuing to push that lead further and further. 9.6 seconds is currently the distance, but all it takes is a couple more incidents where he's going to miss those corners, and it is game very much back on. But Pleasant Snake still with a lot of work to do. We are still on board with RS0121. He is the closest to an overtake that we've got on this track, other than actually Skid Solo a little bit further down. So we'll jump on board with Skid Solo, who's now 0.4 seconds, as RS0121 will probably get the overtake now. I've said that, won't he? 0.1 behind 0.1 behind Truckster, or at least he was. He's now 0.3. So we'll stay on board with Skid Solo, flying through Sector 3 as it stands, going into the final DRS detection zone. He will have DRS on Quincy, see if he can get himself up into 9th place. His teammate at the moment is driving in 3rd. He goes into the pits. Excellent. Makes me look a right twat. Over to T-Brown then in 7th place in the Alfa Romeo. Teammate just ahead of him by 0.3 seconds. 5 seconds separates them from RS0121 in 5th place. So let's jump forward as RS0121 opens up DRS, goes onto the outside of Truckster, goes and tries to hold position, has to go up onto the inside here, gets past the driver that had the blue flag, and I think that's just cost him that opportunity to get 4th place, because he's had to go wide into that corner as well. Skinner, I don't know if you saw that, but there was a driver there as well. I think it was Kwan that had to move out of the way. He did go wide, in credit to him, moved out of the way to allow the drivers past, but I think because RS0121 was already up the side of Truckster at that point, he had to kind of take that a little bit too wide, and it cost him 4th place.
Yeah, I was on board, mate. I think it was actually Toxic that went wide, because now dropped down to 7th. Two very tight corners there. You don't want multiple cars bunching up there and going wide. You're absolutely screaming for a collision or a potential time penalty. So, yeah, open the door for Truckster and RS to move up to 4th and 5th. I'm just on board with RS still, because, again, the closest gap between a driver and the driver in front at the moment, 2 tenths behind Truckster in 4th place. So, yeah, I mean, can't believe we've only had one safety car as it stands. Who knows what's going to happen in this last, 6 or 7 laps?
Nobody, and that is the beauty of Formula 1, especially in the All Assist Soft League, as now DRS is open from RS0121. Truckster doesn't quite have it at the moment. He's not been able to open it on Evo, but the two cars are very close to him. As it stands, goes round onto the second DRS zone. He's going to have, I believe he's going to have DRS heading into this as well. 0.4 separates the two at the moment. See if that'll help him get over the line and take back 4th place as he closes in on to a podium finish after a very strong start. When the safety car came out on lap 1, he was actually out in 1st place. There you go, DRS is open. He's going to try the inside line this time. Might get 2 drivers at the point as well. Gets 1 definitely, and gets past Truckster and nearly gets past Evo as well. And I think for a moment he actually had Evo beaten. So Evo manages to defend very well to keep 3rd place, but the 3 cars are very, very close in this battle for 3rd. 2.1 seconds separates them from Pleasant Snake out in 2nd place. 11.4 separates them from Herman as it stands, as RS continues his pursuit of a podium place. Up in 4th place at the moment on 0.4 seconds behind him. 4 tenths as he goes round the next corners. Following them round. No DRS makes it very difficult. It means there's got to be a lot of patience from these drivers, but when push comes to shove in the last couple of laps, that could be a very different outcome. We'll stay on board with RS, as he's also got to defend from Truckster going in round onto a very long, with a couple of curves straight in Sector 3. It's a very difficult part of the track to be able to judge, because you've got quick corners and you can't catch a chicane or you're in the wall because of how close the sides are here. He's very, very close at the moment to Evo, who's having to do very much defending. He's going to have to try and defend from 2 sides here, as it's just a chance for Truxter to get fourth place back, and he's going to have to defend valiantly. He's gone onto the outside, and he gets ahead of RS0121, both of which are going to have DRS on the Evo 32 heading into turn 1, and I think it's going to be neck and neck between RS and Truxter, and I think Truxter's going to have the edge. He is going into turn 2. Onto Eau Rouge now. Just after Eau Rouge is where the second DRS zone becomes apparent, and it's very close between the three drivers. Even still, 0.3 seconds separates the three as Truxter gets a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. DRS now opened by RS and by Truxter to try and get ahead of Evo. He's going to have a lot of defending to do, and he falls down into 5th place. RS0121 goes up and takes 3rd place onto the inside line. Keeps the inside line of Truxter as well and takes 3rd place. Makes it his own. Truxter now in 4th place with Evo down in 5th, and Truxter, of course, with that 3-second time penalty. So he'll need to get up into 3rd place to try and extend his lead over the other two drivers, or he sees himself out of the podium battle completely. But RS and Evo, and in the space of a couple of corners, they switch places. RS now gets a 3-second time penalty. It cannot be written what is going on in this battle for 3rd place. Evo goes from 3rd place to 5th and is the only one now without a time penalty. When all three go into those final couple of corners, none of them have a time penalty heading into it, and there's a yellow flag somewhere in Sector 2 with 5 laps left to go in this Belgian Grand Prix. 1 second now separates RS from Truxter. 1.9 separates him from Pleasant Snake. 0.5 separates Evo from the battle that is currently going on for 3rd place. Skin, I need a drink.
All I'll say, mate, is A, phenomenal commentary, and B, the camera work that I've just pulled off to magnificently line up that commentary. I've not seen it since you filmed that sex tape back in 2019, mate. You're not seeing camera work like it, but absolutely phenomenal.
Professional.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff, mate. And yeah, what a battle for 3rd place. RS0121, Truxter, Evo 32, giving it absolutely everything, and somehow, with a little over 4 laps to go, Evo in 5th place is the current favourite to take that last step on the podium after those dramatic penalties between for RS and Truxter. But yeah, what a battle there from the lads in the last 2 or 3 laps. But again, no drama since that first lap safety car. Only phenomenal driving, and looking up and down the grid, the gaps are widening. This seems to be now the biggest potential for a little bit of last minute chaos. RS0121 is going to give it absolutely everything to secure that 3rd spot. You know he needs 3 seconds ahead of Evo and is nowhere near it yet. As oh, sorry, that was a back marker. I do apologise. I thought they were racing each other. I thought the RS01. I was thinking then RS0121 is definitely more than is definitely further ahead from that if it's staying he's 1.6 seconds ahead. But anyway, yeah, as it stands, 1.6 seconds. Yeah, RS has got to go all out, balls to the wall here to cover that 3 seconds, but could potentially keep hold of that 4th spot, but no doubt he'll want that 3rd place and that podium spot. Pleasant Snake, the top 2 we've not really spoken about as they seem pretty comfortable right now, is about 1.5 seconds ahead of RS0121, and Pleasant Snake is nearly 14 seconds behind Herman despite having that 3-second time penalty. What a race so far by the newcomer. Looking up and down the grid, not really too much else to report. If I'm being perfectly honest, massive gaps down at the bottom of the grid between each driver. Skid Solo currently less than half a second behind Veriduco, but not in a position to overtake just yet. Racing Wheel 027 in 12th place in the Alpine is 2 tenths behind Peter Caspi, potentially towards the end of this lap. Going into lap number 19, we could see an overtake once that DRS hits, but again, not in a position at the moment to overtake. Will it be that plan A of being patient, staying within a second, and then using DRS on that long straight out of Eau Rouge to climb up into 11th? We will shortly see. Other than that, above Racing Wheel in 12th place, there is not one single driver that is within a second of the driver in front. So, in theory, we should see a relatively comfortable last 3 or so laps. It's going to take a mistake from someone to open the door for position change at this point, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the distance now as Toxic gets a 3-second time penalty. He's down though. He's down in 7th place at the moment, so that doesn't really impact what's going on at the top. And I think he's still got a good couple of seconds lead over Quincy, even with that 3-second time penalty. I don't know what that leads his overall time penalties to be. I'll check that in a second. But yeah, it's currently, I think, if my math isn't mistaken, it's 3.2. As Trugster now gets another 3-second time penalty, which actually puts him in contention for falling to 6th place, as Formula 1 Farah now gets a 3-second time penalty. Very few drivers at the moment don't. Now, what we have been talking about is how close RS012 has been to Trugster, and he has been to Ivor. Now, let's talk about how close he is to Pleasant Snake. He is within DRS of 2nd place with a couple of laps left to go. He's gained a lot of time. This 3-second time penalty could be the game changer. But as it stands at the moment, if he can get past Pleasant Snake, open air in front of him, there's no reason to believe that he couldn't take 2nd spot of this podium. We've obviously left Herman somewhere out in front. We don't know where he is. We assume he's okay, 14.5 seconds ahead.
He's already started the next race weekend, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's already ready for qualifying in the next race. As he follows, we follow RS0121 through DRS Sector 2. And the DRS isn't going to allow him to get past Pleasant Snake on this occasion, but he is going to stay just on the tail of the AlphaTauri, trying to get ever closer and take 2nd place, what he'll feel he deserves after what has been a very tough race. So Ibo then takes a 3-second time. But let's just have a look at the penalties that are going on at the moment, because we know there's probably quite a lot for a lot of these drivers. Yeah, we've got Trugster on 6 seconds, Toxic's on 8 seconds, so he's somewhere towards the back at the moment, and Formula 1 Farah's on 6. We've got 3 seconds for racing. We've got a big gap between 9th and 10th at the moment, 32 seconds separating them. So it's like with your Premier League, isn't it? You've got the top half and then you've got the bottom half, and that's really how it's looking at the moment in this race. So I think that's the best analogy I can probably give you for that, as 0.8 seconds currently separates RS0121 from Pleasant Snake, going round into the relatively long Sector 3 that we have. RS0121, 6/10 slower than his best lap at the moment, and he will be hoping that he can save some of that energy within his car to be able to get past the AlphaTauri on either the pit straight or the following DRS zone at the end of Eau Rouge. He will need to, or I very much doubt he will be able to claim 2nd place. But 3rd looks almost destined to be his own. DRS is open then. Here we are, onto the pit straight. DRS open. He's not going to have enough track to keep up with Pleasant Snake. I think he's just managed to keep himself ahead far enough, and this 3 seconds I think is going to be the make or break, isn't it, for RS? I don't think he's going to be able to really do anything from it. I think he might actually be outside of DRS into Sector 2 as well. In DRS Zone 2, has he got it just in time? He's managed to get closer. He's got it just in time, I think, as well. So I think he will have DRS going into this straight. We'll see if he manages to open it. He has not, so he must have just missed out. It must have been very close, maybe one of those very close situations he's just missed out on, but 1 second now he's outside of it, and I still think that's the closest we've got to anybody creating an overtake. I think we've got somewhere down the bottom here, we've got Racing Will and the Alpine down in 12th place, closing the gap on Peter Caspi of the Ferrari. Both of those are in the wilderness of a lot of other cars though, so if you can get past, I think 11th is the best that these two drivers can be hoping for in this race. Both of course with time penalties going through onto the pit straight. DRS is available for both of Racing Wheel. He is within 1 second of the driver ahead. Opens up DRS onto the pit straight. See if he can get close enough to be able to contend with Peter Caspi on this straight. He's not, so we might have to see if he can do it on the following corner, heading through Eau Rouge, one of the dangerous corners in the entire F1 calendar, let alone one to decide to overtake on. And I think we've seen a couple of drivers maybe make that risk heading into the final couple of laps. He gets into DRS detection zone 2, and he does have DRS. He opens up the rear wing again, giving him that extra 10 miles per hour that Peter Caspi does not have in the Ferrari, but he is going to still be able to keep hold of that position, just enough time for the corner to get close enough to him for him to be able to keep that position. So let's move back to RS0121, as there is a yellow flag on the first corner that we are coming up to at the moment, and I think that is just back markers moving out of the way, which of course this game sees as you've got to do, but also don't do it. So there you go. That's as clear as the lockdown rules we get, isn't it?
Yeah, it's but I'm not really sure what he's doing. He's waiting for back markers to come, and I don't know how he's ended up where he's ended up. It's like he's coming out of the pit, but I'm not sure if he actually pitted or not, so strange one that. But anyway, we continue. Last lap, Aggie, Herman 26, first place, as predicted at the start of the race and the start of the evening. 15 seconds clear. Can afford to cut a couple of corners if really fancied it, just to mix things up. But yeah, what a dominant race from the again the relative newcomer. But I think we're gonna have to drop that title pretty soon and give him the respect he deserves. And yeah, probably hoping that someone drops out of the league very, very soon, so we officially become a permanent fixture in the All Assist Off League. But yeah, Herman now in Sector 3. Aggie, take us through the last couple of corners in Belgium.
Yes, he's a newcomer to the league, but he certainly isn't a newcomer to the game. As they say in the NFL, you get 4 years before you become a veteran. You get 4 races, and Herman has become a veteran of this league already. He takes the final corner as comfortable as he took the first. On lap 22, he crosses the line for yet another race win. This time it's in the Mercedes. A very dominant performance, 15 seconds ahead of the AlphaTauri of Pleasant Snake, who goes in a little bit late, but he manages to cross the line to take second place, 16 seconds behind. RS0121 will be disappointed with his performance after the very strong start that he made, but he'll finish in the third step of the podium. Truckster will take 5th place after the time penalty, as Ivor is elevated up into 4th place. T-Brand will then separate the 2 Alfa Romeos in his AlphaTauri in 6th place at the moment. Toxic then in 7th, which he'll drop down to 8th as Quincy crosses the line. This is where it goes all crazy because of the time penalties. Formula 1 Farah, though, half a minute behind Toxic, down in 9th place. He's still finishing the last couple of corners into Sector 3. He'll take 9th place in the Williams after what was a very struggling start for him. He pitted on lap number 1 when the safety car came out. He took another pit stop a little bit later, so he'll take a top 10 finish from what looked like the Oblivion. Then we've got in 10th place DDB890, 4.5 seconds behind him. May actually move up to 9th place himself, considering the time penalties. He will do that, as Racing Wheel then in 11th place will bring us home in the Alpine. The only Alpine racing this afternoon. We did lose Tobalenzen and we lost Kwan, and we practically lost D. Perez, who said at some point that his game had given up on him, which meant Mercedes have got a lot of work to be going on to heading into next week, especially if there's a return of Danger David. So we stay with Racing Wheel as he brings it across the line in the Alpine. Then you've got Peter Caspi down in 12th place, Veriduco in 13th. A couple of drivers there were lapped as well, which means the race winner, once again, the top step of the podium, belongs to the guy that you predicted, Skin, Herman. Who's your driver of the day? The game's given it to Pleasant Snake. What's your thoughts?
Let me take a look at the grid, mate, before I confirm, because it would be easy, of course, to go with Herman. Such a dominant victory yet again, but we do like to spice things up a little bit. So, you know what? I'm actually going to agree with it. I'm going to go with Pleasant Snake. Having started in 14th place, getting up in 2nd, and finishing in 2nd relatively comfortably, I think, I think Pleasant Snake is a very valuable choice there from the game. What about yourself?
I like it. I think Pleasant Snake in 2nd place is a very strong shout. I don't think there's going to be many other options out there that you can look at. I think you've got to look at, like you say, the race winner, Herman, with a fantastic 16-point lead. I like to give RS0121 a shout out. He still managed to finish in 3rd place. I think the battling of the afternoon has to go between those two and Truckster. I think the 3 drivers all together had a fantastic battle up for 3rd place before eventually time penalties started to take into effect, which is a shame, but it does happen. I'm going to back the decision. You know, it says there, started in 14th place, finished up in 2nd. A lot of credit there has to go to Pleasant Snake. So I'll give him my drive of the day, just as the game has. And of course, that vote will be available on the Discord channel very, very soon. Something that I'm sure, Skin, you will pay no attention to because you don't pay much attention to Discord at all.
Correct.
But there we go. Hoping in a couple of minutes' time to be able to have some post-race reaction. We'll find out in just a few moments' time. But for the meantime, I will just pop this on hold while we do.
Just while we wait, some updated, interesting facts about Aggie, shall we? His favourite cereal is bran flakes. Is just bran flakes this week, I reckon. That'll do for now.
Welcome back to coverage of race 3 of season 12 of the All Assist Off League. We've just concluded in Belgium, so we will start by going over, first of all, to the race winner. So congratulations to Herman. Your second pole position in this league has turned into a race win. How good does that feel for you?
Pretty good. Was obviously thinking about that legendary battle with Vettel in 2018 about someone slipstreaming me, which happened before the safety was called. But yeah, in general, good starting position, especially gaps, 7/10, can't complain. So yeah, was happy the car worked out with some adjustments I made from my last league race in Belgium, and yeah, was just confident overall. I always knew what to do with the car in terms of balance and how to set it up. The older the tires got, and that early safety car, yeah, was good for my strategy as well in terms of the slight undercut there. But the gaps were already big, so didn't matter in the end. Yeah, was good fun.
Another race win for you, another situation where you're putting yourself in with a shout of getting yourself a permanent seat within a team. Is there any team that you've seen at the moment that you really think, oh, I wouldn't mind racing for them or alongside them?
To be honest, I'm not focusing on that at the moment. I feel like there is something in this league that may be making that difficult regardless of the performance I'm putting in at the moment. So yeah, if anything, I just just try to go for the W at the end, and let's see what I can do from there, and maybe have some discussions in the background. But in terms of what I'm doing is only focusing on the races, and yeah, as Quincy just jokingly said, maybe Snake and I should open a team since we're as a reserve always there, and yeah, we could do major harm to the top guys of this league. With Sandman obviously not being here today, DePerry is having a shit day, and Danger David, who I replaced today, that wasn't quite the competition I was looking for, but yeah, I take that. Some of these days I will probably miss 1 or 2 races anyway when everyone is in, or I just can't make it. So yeah, the extra points in terms of the gap I will happily take. So just working from race to race. We got the little break behind us already. So yeah, just looking forward to next Monday.
Yeah, and you maximise that potential really, because in this league there's not just points for finishing at the top, is there? There's points on offer for qualifying as well, and you maximise the potential take from both qualifying and the race. So first of all, congratulations on that. But how important are those points to have been maximised when you say, like, there's no Danger David today, there's no Sandman, and they're the nearest competitors at the moment for the championship?
Yeah, actually, finally, DePerry was second before that race, which he's probably not going to be. Shane is probably taking that. Yeah, obviously huge in terms of like the points or the gaps in general pace we just had. I think Sandman was due to victory in Austin. I felt like he was overall better, but couldn't make the best out of overtaking me, and we just probably would have continued our battle. And if you even count out the more penalty seconds he had, I just wanted to win it on track. So in terms of that, I think we both didn't get what we deserved in Austin, neither of us. So yeah, him being not there or just being behind me, just in Mexico in the main race where the points gap is the biggest you can get on a weekend. And I think I secured fastest lap as well. You just take these races where even if it was a second place or third, that's still a gain. And if you count the points together, you see someone like Danger David winning the whole thing, and he didn't win a race last season, if I'm aware. So you just pick up these opportunities, or have these opportunities, you have to pick them up, because if you don't, might bite you in the ass in the long run, and especially in my position with not having a permanent seat, you're always on the risk that if I just too slow on the check-in and there's only one driver is missing, then Snake can get him, for example. So that would always be a threat to me and in terms of my mission. So I'm glad I could make everything out of this, and apart from the warnings, I had no major mistakes today.
Absolutely, Herman. Congratulations on yet another race win, and thank you for joining us for the post-race reaction. We'll jump across now to Quincy. It was a bit out of the formality, wasn't it, seeing you towards the top part of the track for a little while, and that's meant with no disrespect, but it was good to see you battling in amongst, and at one point you was on provisional pole before an influx of cars had chosen to go onto the soft tyres. So what was the thought process there? Because you were the first one to go out there on softs and set a fast lap.
I went out on softs with the intention, I put 8 kilograms of fuel in, of doing a couple of warm-up laps, just because I didn't have a lot of practice going into this race. So I wanted to get a couple of laps in, and then I knew that it was a bit early, so that it would, track evolution-wise, the track will just get better and better. So that was my thought, but I just completely mistimed when I should have come in, put some new softs on, lowered the fuel, and then go out for my proper lap. So that's how I ended up where I was. I think it was P13 or thereabouts, something along them lines.
It was 12 at the end of qualifying, yeah.
12, yeah, P12. So not a good start, but I made up quite quickly due to people getting damaged and stuff like that. So quite happy with that.
Yeah, and it's good to see not only yourself performing in the top half of the group, but also your teammate as well, RS or Shane, if you will, performing again in a podium finish.
Yeah, man, that he's honestly one of the special drivers. A bit like Pleasant Snake. Those type of guys just have complete pace. I don't know where it comes from. I'd like for them to pass it on to me a little bit, but they've got just so good raw pace that they can sort of not practice and just come at it and get good results every week.
Where do you think that the improvement needs to be from your perspective heading into next week? Because, of course, it's not been bad performances. You've still been performing quite consistently. It's just, of course, like you say, you want to take it to the next step.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be honest with you, this season for me is going to be very difficult. Just with having the new kid come along, everything's a bit busy. I've only got one day usually to practice. So I just usually try my best to get some good laps in on that particular day and then hope for the best. But I think until the next season, season 13, I won't be able to get the time that I need to practice. So it's just going to have to be just hope for the best, show up and actually finish the races. That's my main goal for all of these races in this particular season. It's going to be a quiet one for me, but I'm just going to try my best to finish and then try my best to finish in the top 10 as well, so I can back Shane up with the points. And looking at people moving on, missing, like Sandman and David, etc. And I know Evil was missing for one race as well. That's more opportunities for me and Shane to claw in with the constructors, because we're here every week. We're picking up those points. He's in the top 3, and I'm picking up the points on the bottom end. So we'll hopefully get a good result for the constructors this year.
Do you think that, of course, you're both at the Red Bull now in race for Mercedes last season, do you think that the Constructors' Championship isn't an unrealistic target to go for?
I don't think it is, no. Because I know, for example, David, I think our main competitors right now would be usually the Mercedes with David and Perez, McLaren with Toby and Sandman, and I forget the last team that I was supposed to mention. I think Aston Martin with Ivor and Skid Solo. With David missing a couple of races, I know Herman's got all the points today. Perez didn't score any points today. McLaren didn't score any points today as well. So this particular race is a good one for us, I think.
Yeah, certainly closes the gap. So we'll keep a close eye on just what's happening with Red Bull in your pursuit of, I believe it's your first Constructors' Championship for you guys?
Yeah, it'll be our first one, yeah.
First Constructors' Championship, but of course the defence of Red Bull. So Quincy, thank you very much, and best of luck. And we'll move across quickly and swiftly to Pleasant Snake. Of course, congratulations on what has been a phenomenal race, starting in 14th place, getting yourself into second place on the podium. It looked very close towards the back end of that race as well. What was going through your mind in those final couple of laps while you were put under pressure from Shane?
At first, I just felt like I had to save the tires for the last laps, because I knew that someone was gonna come at the end. Because I started on the mediums at lap 11, I think. so I knew they were going to be a bit done towards the end of the race. So I had like in the middle there, I was just saving tires, and then when I saw that Shane was coming, I just had to start pushing again. And in the end, it worked out quite great.
Was there a strategy that was... Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, it's...
Was there a strategy going through your mind when you qualified in 14th place that thought there's a very real chance that, you know, with a certain strategy in mind, you could get yourself into the podium points, or was it just a case of it's how the race fell?
I was thinking to go for the soft and then go early onto the hards to maybe get some positions there. That was my plan, but then it was a safety car early, and I was able to save my tires quite well. And yeah, I was my first stint. I'm not sure. I think I took like 5 or 6 positions on the first lap, so I was felt nice.
Yeah, and with regards to the safety car, did it put a stop in your plan at all? Because obviously you said that you went for the softs early on, didn't you? Did it change your plan at all?
No, not really. I was I didn't. I think my tires were like 3% worn when the safety car started, and like only 6% when it ended. So you know, I just saved tires really. So it was good with the safety car.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on what has been a very good result for yourself, and of course, best of luck moving forward. Hope to see more of yourself on the track, of course, as Quincy mentioned just then. We will just quickly conclude the interviews as we've got a late joiner from Racing Wheel. Thank you very much for joining us. Just give us your thoughts and the breakdown of how you felt that race went for yourself.
For me?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I actually was a bit sick today, so I think the race for me was fine and a lot of fun. I was battling with Maverick and his teammate Pet Krapsi all of the race. Yeah, it was really fun. Volley was also fun with the dynamic weather, so looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, with regards to the dynamic weather that you mentioned there, just in the qualifying session, of course, the dynamic weather really threw a curveball in there, didn't it? You went out originally, you went out quite late, sorry, should I say, in qualifying, if I'm not mistaken, towards the back end of the crossover between the intermediates and the slick tyres, didn't you? What was the thought process of going out at that point, knowing that if you'd left it a little bit longer, of course, the track would have been a bit drier?
Yeah, I just tried to improve my lap all the time, and I was checking with my engineer when the track was good for the dry tire, and when he said we have reached the crossing point, yeah, that was for me the time to go in. Fortunately, I had one hot lap on the dry tires, but a second timed lap would have been more nice, of course. But it's what it is. I'm still happy with the quality result.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck for the remainder of the season, and thank you very much for joining us. We are going to have to cut this quite short now because, of course, it is getting quite late and there are other things to do. But I'll just quickly mention, Shane, you've joined us. First of all, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on a podium finish in the end. But I'm sure there was some worries from yourself as soon as there was 3 cars battling and you took a 3-second time penalty.
Definitely, but I have to rush as well. I just want to join quickly. GG Herman, GG Snake, that was a top race. Let's go Quincy. Thank you Racing Wheel for that. That's all I can say. But yeah, that was fun, man. I don't know if you've seen me, Trugster, and I can't remember who else went pretty wide in that corner, but it was actually quite fun to be fair. I don't know.
Yes, mate, there's three of you all battling for that, and it was very entertaining to watch and to cover. So great racing from all three of you. Saw you move up into third place eventually. There were a couple of time penalties issued elsewhere that I think saw Trugster fall to fourth place in the end as well, due to another time penalty that was brandished. But yeah, Quincy said that it's all about being able to compete as a team this season, and that's something that you're being able to do up and amongst the front runners at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Race, I didn't get to practice as much. Quincy's not really getting to practice. He's got other stuff going on, but I feel like when we do get to practice and I don't know, race more together, I think we'll be dominant, really. I'll be honest. But yeah, for now we just have to just keep it steady, just try to get some points.
Do you think? Because of course, you won the last race. You've finished on the podium in this race. You're starting to get those extra points picked up on a more consistent basis. Is the Drivers' Championship something that you are even remotely focused on at the moment?
No. It's just getting points from a teammate, to be fair. Maybe I want to win it for the Red Bull, but no, I don't care for the championship at the moment. I don't think I can win it, to be fair, so...
Absolutely. Well, Shane, lads, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. You've said you're in a rush, we're in a rush, so thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to race number 4 in Season 12 of the All Assist Off League. But for now, it is Herman that takes the top step of the podium.
GG,